to New York, New York. I'm sorry. If you can make it there, you can make it. I can't sing, so I'm not even going to try. So,
No, well, I'm sure most people listening to this, and of course everybody on the podcast is so glad, Stephen, that you can't sing. But
wow, that is hurtful.
y-
I'm right
yeah,
here. It hurt me in my heart.
well,
I'm going to
it's
cry.
very difficult. It's very difficult to hurt somebody from an illustrious city
Yes,
who
me.
you're always telling me has a very thick skin,
Yes, yes, yes,
as being part of coming from that particular city in the US.
yes, yes.
You see, as I'm not being paid by that particular city's,
You mean New York? You're talking about New
tourist
York? New York.
tourist department. I'm
Oh,
not being
okay.
paid a dollar for every time somebody mentions that city's name.
New
I'm
York.
just not.
Right.
I'm refusing to do it.
Just say New York. Okay, I got
Yeah,
it. So
yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts now is going to be our sponsor as well. So you got to start talking about Dunkin' Donut coffee.
No, is the guy actually called Duncan? Is that his
You don't
name?
you don't know what Dunkin' Donuts is?
I thought there's the donuts
That's
from
no,
Duncan.
no, no, no.
Is
This
it
is a
not
whole
the
nother
donuts
show.
from Duncan?
No, no, no.
Okay.
Duncan's a nice guy, but he doesn't make the donuts. Dunkin' Donuts is well, this will be a whole nother show on Dunkin' Donuts. This will do with
Yeah.
kimchi chick and Raul. That'll be a show on
Okay.
Dunkin'
Well,
Donuts just
okay.
for you.
Well, is
Okay.
Duncan going to come as well for the show? Because I mean,
He's
obviously he
probably
wants to.
he's probably dead.
He's probably wants to promote his
He's
donuts. But
well,
anyway,
maybe
talking about promotions
we have a
and people
gentleman
who
with
want,
us today who's been
we
here
do
before, and he
an
likes
illustri
us,
an
and
illustrious gentleman.
he's an
Um,
artist.
he is indeed. I don't know whether or
And
not
he's
he's a.
not from New
I don't know
York.
what. No, but I'm not sure if he likes donuts either. But we'll go ask him that.
Sure.
But yeah, it's Farook Mohammed. He's back with us. We had a
Yes, he is.
fantastic time with him last time he came on. Yeah, and we just thought, well, we just got to get him back on to the show. Hi,
And there he
Farouk.
is. He's on
Hi.
mute, though. He's on
He's
mute. This
on.
is the best. He
Yeah.
can't speak. He's on mute. Now he's not on mute.
Oh,
Now he can speak.
well, he was hoping I was on mute. I think, Stephen.
Yes,
But
we all do.
so the burning question today is, Farouk, do you like donuts? No, I mean honestly, Stephen's got this thing about this guy called Duncan,
Oh my
who's got
God.
this who got this donut place somewhere in New York, and I
It's
just
a
wondered,
national franchise. Okay.
do you like Duncan, or do you like donuts? Question of the day. I rest my case, counsellor.
I don't. He's frozen.
Yeah.
He's in he's in South Africa. That's
Well,
why.
donuts are good. Donuts are good.
See,
I'll need to come and I need to find out what the donuts in New York taste like.
the Dunkin' Donuts is a national chain. So there's a place in Austin called
Can
Voodoo
you hear
Donuts.
me?
They have yep. It's a national chain. So it's a franchise. So we have Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah, in
But
Austin they have Voodoo Donuts. They make donuts the size of like a pizza. It's ridiculous
Stephen, how
stuff like
can
that. Yeah,
Duncan work in all those different shops at the same time?
he's a very large man. Yeah. So
Duncan and his donuts. We look forward
yes,
to
Dunkin'
having
and his
him on the
donuts.
show.
I
Yeah.
know. I'm going to call him tomorrow. Right after this. I'm going to make a phone call. So now let's go to Farouk, who has beautiful artwork that we're going to actually below. There'll be a little auction thing that people can actually buy it because people were saying, "How do we buy his artwork?" And we're like, "This is how you buy it." So we're going to look at some artwork today that is for purchase, and he's got big things coming next year, which apparently we're going to do another interview, January, February for the big thing in March or April or whenever it is. That's all I know. Other than that, I sit here and look pretty the rest of the day. So have at it.
Yeah, because you sent us a fantastic little short film, Farouk, which got loads and loads and loads of views.
Yes, so thank you for that.
Thank you for that. I don't know. Did you have to smuggle the camera into the gallery when you did that, or?
You've got that delay.
Yeah, I had to. But there was a lot of tight security in that space. Um, Even when I had to get the media in there, they had to fill in certain forms as well to do shoots as well inside the museum, because it's quite a bit of very expensive artworks there as well, including mine that was there. But they have, like, rules, and you have to obey the rules. So I had some news media pop in there, so I had to make a plan to get footage quickly as well. And that's how I got to get you like a small piece of it.
Very cool. No, it's very nice. So now the artworks that you're going to be selling to our fans or wanting our fans to bid on, what artwork will we be looking at today?
Well, I'm going to put forward some of the iconic pieces that
Very
was
cool.
part of that exhibition that was happening over there. The rest of my other works that I've still got, they are being kept away. They're in actually storage. We're busy moving as well we're actually moving home to another space. And that's been a bit of a crazy run around. But I'm going to put 4 works up at this moment, put them on the chopping block, and give people an opportunity to actually be part of something big and preserve a little bit of the future and as well as history. The works that I create is all Pan-Africanist, so it's about Africa, but it's a combination of all the different cultures and putting things together. There's a big story behind it, but people will find out a little bit more about it as time goes on as well. Like you said, we're busy working towards something that's very big that's coming up. My whole day I've actually spent in this room doing interviews with youngsters that's basically going to join as interns, and they will be learning a little bit more about the art market as a whole. They're going to work very closely with me, so I'm getting 15 people on, and I'm actually going to have fun with these youngsters. I actually look forward to everything that's going to happen. So in December, I'm going to get very busy with them and share a lot of information and knowledge with this whole group. And well, you'll get to see what we do.
Very cool. Yeah. And we're going to look forward to actually having an interview with you and your interns as you get closer to your project. So, and I think our fans will enjoy it too, because I think people don't get to see the beauty of South African art, right? Because they're got their heads up their tuchuses. So this way, with your stuff, they can actually see the beauty of the art and the Pan-African and the colors and the vividness. And I think that's very, very cool. And I'm glad that we're able to do this.
Yeah, it all sounds really exciting. You got 15 young people. I mean, have, have they all got jobs from the get-go, Farouk?
And I think they're university students, actually.
Okay.
It's
And
cheap labor. That's the best part about interns. Cheap
They're
labor.
basically going to work. They're basically going to work from December onwards. They're going to work from December onwards, right into the new year through for quite a few months. And I'm actually hoping that I will keep this whole bunch on. It depends also on the performance of the entire event, etc. I'm going to give them an opportunity to also show who they are as individuals within their own right. It's about telling the story of Africa as a people, because Africa is diverse. A lot of people think Africa, then they only see one image of Africa. Africa is very, very diverse. It's a beautiful place. And a lot of people would be able to relate to what's happening on the continent of Africa, especially even in South Africa. We are a very diverse community, and we're going to present something that's new, that's fresh, that I believe will be the new gold in the art market.
Very, very cool.
It's interesting you said that everybody has one view of Africa. What could you elaborate on that, Farouk? Because I'm not quite sure if I have one view on Africa, but not that I'm the litmus test for it. I know, but what could you elaborate on that a bit for us? What that
Okay,
one
let me
view
give
of
you an
Africa?
explanation. I'll do that. A lot of the times when people are like in the global north, when there's documentaries about Africa, there's only certain sections or parts of Africa that's predominantly shown as this is Africa. And that would be the southern part of Africa or the western part of the east of Africa. But when it comes to the north of Africa, a lot of people exclude that as if it's part of the African continent. Egypt, they a lot of images or the perception that people put out is that Egypt is just, you know, Asian or Middle Eastern, or, you know, that side of the world, but it's part of Africa, it's part of the continent. So the whole north section of Africa, which is very huge, that's part of Africa. And the cultures that you find there, it's predominantly, obviously, Islamic. There's a lot of Muslims there, but that's the same for the whole of Africa. It's everywhere. So a lot of people base things on the color of a person's skin. It's not that, because Africa is so diverse. Myself, I am very diverse. I've got my family bloodline dots the entire continent, and if people had to judge people based on the color of their skin, then it would be very wrong to do so, because I mean, as you can see. But this is what Africa has. Africa has a very diverse people. If you look at some of the very ancient civilizations of the African continent, like I mentioned in the last interview that we had about, you know, the Khoisan people, they're not black, like, you know, in their skin color. They're more like what we in South Africa would call like colored, but they are also not. They don't classify themselves as colored. They stick to the, you know, their traditional thing. They are Khoisan, but it's more like, you know, they're more fair of complexion in comparison to the rest of African people that you find the people who generally assume is just black. Africa isn't full of black people. It's full of people with different shades of brown. That's basically Africa. Africa has got many shades of brown, from dark to light.
But that's part of the ignorance of people just in general, because people are, and I mean this in the nicest sense to people, are inherently stupid.
Yeah.
So whether they're racist or ignorant and somewhere in between, that's how they look at it. I mean, I've been to Africa.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful country and continent. And not everybody, as you said, it's African is dark. There's white Africa. I mean, it's just a ton. And the fact that people don't even realize that when they say Africa, that it does include Egypt and other places in North Africa, because once again, that's just the generational not teaching, not learning. So that's a whole thing that we can go off on tangent later.
Is this going to be part of this experience then, Farouk, that you're going to take?
It doesn't stop. Yes, it's part of the experience. It's about combining everything that Africa is. If I look at South Africa and a whole bunch of other African countries that you find, there's a lot of Europeans here, and they've been here for hundreds and hundreds of years. They're part of Africa, like the Afrikaner community. You know, they themselves Afrikaner, but they're Europeans. They're white. You know. But we don't see them as people that are separate. They're part of South Africa. The word Afrikaner means African. And their forefathers and everyone came from Europe and different other parts of the world. And they've always been here. So it's about also encapsulating that culture with all of these artworks as well, because we focused on being one people, one nation, irrespective of where our forefathers came from, because Africa is extremely diverse, and it's been that way for many, many, many years, hundreds and hundreds of years, more than 1,000 years. Africa is diverse. So it's about showing the world what Africa really is like, and that cultural diversity and the beauty thereof. So I combine all of these things, and I want the world to see what Africa actually presents and represents. And like I said, my works are meant for the future, and we're trying to inspire people on the African continent to also focus more on the future of the continent itself, in terms of its growth, in terms of you know, societal issues that we find. My exhibition will also focus on conflict that we find sometimes on the continent, and it's about silencing the gun. So there will be some messages coming from us aimed at certain politicians in certain countries to say, can we just stop any friction that happens within the continent and bring our people together, because it's useless. It's silly for people to be fighting in the 21st century. And I would say that for the entire world, it's actually a stupid thing for people to have conflict, to think of having armed conflict with each other instead of talking and negotiating and coming to a situation where there's peace. A lot of people don't speak peace in the world anymore, especially the leaders out there. If I have to quote like one of our late leaders here, Nelson Mandela, the former president of South Africa, he said that artists, we reach places further and far greater than what politicians ever can. They can't reach the places that we can as artists, because we go to places, we reach the public, we do change society. And I'm going to use my skills, my abilities to tell the story of Africa, but not just Africa itself, but to use it as a means to inspire the entire world to say, listen, please stop the conflict. We don't want to see people having conflict anywhere in the world anymore. That stuff that happened in the past, that's how we should see it. We need to look at, the progress that we can make as human beings moving forward. What can we do to make this world a better place, and not just better, but beautiful, and embrace the nature that we have that's around us.
So, and that's what that's what the exhibit, if you will, the beginning of next year will be, and that's what you and the interns are going to be doing, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Very, very cool.
And it's not going to be something small. It's going to be something.
Is it going to be? Is this going to be predominantly your own work, or are the people the young people that are coming to work or coming to work with you, will they be producing art or something themselves to add to the exhibition?
The exhibition is going to only show my works. It's a solo exhibition. What they will be doing is they will be learning a little bit about art marketing and stuff like that, as well as the sales side of art. They will also learn about, the purpose of art in society, in the world. Why do people actually make art? Why do the ancient civilizations leave behind so many artifacts? It's not just about preserving history, it's also about inspiring people for what the future can actually be. If we look at ancient civilizations, there's pyramids, there's this, there's that. It is these places that also inspire us in our time for what can we actually do for the future in terms of our infrastructure and how we're building things. Look at how long those structures have been standing. So we must look at sustainability. We mustn't produce things that will constantly harm nature around us.
Well, yeah, but see, I think the mindset back in the day might have been a little different. It seems the mindset today is no different than it was, if you will, 1,000 years ago, right? It's acquisition, land acquisition, conquer people. Look what's going on with Russia and the Ukraine and possibly Poland now. Look what goes on in even parts of Africa. It's like, I think people just still don't realize we're all stuck here. All 8 billion of us are still stuck on this little blue marble in the middle of nowhere. And I don't think they realize that. So I think that, more people need to discuss, like, hey, we're all here together. Let's work together.
So the emphasis of my exhibition is on those type of things, because it's not just about conflict in Africa or conflict in the Middle East or in Europe. It's also about conflict within America. And look at American society today. Everyone is looking at what's happening in the US, but you will find that certain voices in the United States are being silenced. And for us looking from the outside, inwards, it's like, why are people doing that? Why can't they just come together? There are issues happening, and I believe that politicians are not always on the side of the people. And for me, it's like, if I look at America, you've got your Democrats, you've got your Republicans. I don't have a problem with either side. It's just, for me, it's like, why are you people actually even having issues? Find a way to work together, because if people are not working together, they destroy society. They basically, I see what's happening currently in America as two conflicting groups destroying the entire country. And I don't want to see that happening to people. There's a lot of nice people in the United States. And just because people can't see eye to eye, they need to be inspired. They need to be forced towards some way of working together. And currently, it's bit of it's a concern for the rest of the world. And it's not only just because of what's happening in the US, everywhere else, and the US's relationship with other countries as well. One of my friends may put a certain point across so nicely, where he said, people can be democratic at home, but that they're democratic with the rest of the world. They can be monsters and destroy other people's lives. And it's those type of questions and those type of thought processes that people need to go through. We need to start thinking about what we are doing as individuals, as countries, as nations. What are we doing that's actually wrong? Why do people, a lot of people will ask questions, why do they hate us? It's not about people hating you. You need to look at your own actions. What have you done that's actually wrong and you don't want you throwing a blind eye to? So that goes across the board all over the world. People need to start focusing on unity, and nobody wants to spread that message around. We constantly say peace, 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 but the politicians aren't playing that game. So we're taking out the ban and saying, okay,
well,
we have to pitch in, and this is where the creatives has to come out. I mean, like your musicians, your filmmakers, your visual artists. What I'm doing, we need to tell the stories.
Yeah, Farook, I've got to be the devil's advocate here and say, just because I look at a painting, I just said, just because I'm looking at a painting, is that going to stop me from trying to bang somebody over the head with a club, or start another war? I mean, it's a noble cause, I'm sure, but I mean, how much is it going to change the fundamentals of people who just seem to be, brutal in the way that they want to live with each other? You have something that I want, I can't afford it, or I can't get it, so I just bang you over the head and take it. Now, is a piece of art going to change that attitude, do you think? I mean, it's not like get down on Farook or get down on your art or your project, but I'm just interested to know, because I think it's very noble, and I can't wait to see how it's all going to unravel. But maybe I'm just really just a bit too crusty in my old age to think that a painting on a wall is going to change somebody's attitude towards life. Just me.
That is that's a very good question, and actually appreciate that you're asking a question like that, because I do have an answer for that. Yes, I strongly believe that art has the ability to change people's lives, even a physical image, a picture. Let me give you an example. You get a lot of people, they're not religious, as an example, and there's some symbolism somewhere outside in the public space, whether it is public art or whatever. There's some religious symbolism, and a person walks down the street, is about to commit a certain crime, right? He wants to rob someone, but somehow he manages, his eyes catches something that changes his mind. It's like, hey, but you know what? I shouldn't be doing stuff like this. And it's those type of things that I want to use as an example. Like, people will look at religious iconography and it would change their actions. Art is meant to evoke emotion. So if you're thinking that it doesn't have much of an effect, it actually does. It depends on who receives it, where it is, and what type of art are they actually looking at. It depends on the message of the image itself. If I put out, as an example, just splashing paint on a canvas, I don't think it would evoke the type of emotion that would prevent someone from robbing someone else. But if it has a certain message that goes along with it, either it's written on it or it reminds that person of something that they're not supposed to do, because deep down inside, we all have a moral compass. Everyone doesn't have it on the same level, but to some degree, I believe everyone has a piece of remorse within them. So it's about tapping into that small bit of remorse and amplifying it. And art has the ability to amplify the goodness within us. Does that
I
answer
would
your
think
question?
I agree. I
Yeah,
would agree with that. I
yeah,
also think it's the same that happens in music. It's the same with music that it amplifies the good or the bad. And I think art does the same thing. I think there's a passion when you see something and you're like, this is awesome, or you go, I don't like it. And I think it does. Whether it'll bring world peace, don't know, but at least it can give people some solace. And I think that's the main kind of, and bring some people together and at least maybe have a dialogue about stuff.
I think that was a wonderful statement, Farouk. I mean, I wasn't trying to be shitty, in yeah,
I
in
can
saying that
understand, but
to you,
it's
but I'm sure a lot of the listeners and a lot of the viewers are with scratching their head as well, thinking, what does he kind of mean? What does he mean by that? But the story about that somewhere out on the street, somebody sees something which triggers them, even maybe just to stop for a few minutes and reconsider their actions. Yeah, I can see that, and knowing already a little bit about your art and what you're trying to do, that if you have a whole series of art full of imagery, because I agree with you as well about the sort of, I won't get on to the Pollock thing again, because we had a discussion a few shows ago about Jackson Pollock, and I'm not actually anti Jackson Pollock. It's just that it doesn't really float my boat. But yeah, well, I would when you see things, and I agree with Stephen as well. When you hear certain sorts of music, it does move something very, very primitive within you. Um, yeah, and if you can elevate that, or just you know take people off a bad track they're on and put them on a slightly less of a bad track, then I think you've succeeded in the arts, in the music. I'm just an old hippie anyway.
and you see, likewise, I would say likewise for ancient civilizations. If you look at what they've produced and the artworks that you might find in pyramids or wherever else, if you look at the imagery that they've got, some of the stuff looks very brutal. There's fighting scenes, there's heads being chopped off in some of the scenes in ancient artworks and stuff. So there must have been purpose and a message behind that. Those messages that they've captured could exactly be what I've just explained. For society to see, if you're going to do that, that's what's going to happen to you. You're going to lose your head. If you do something wrong within this civilization or within that society, it could be a message like the police force is saying, this is no place for criminals, as an example. So yes, art does have a place in changing the course of the world where we're heading. And I believe that it is
Yeah,
very important
do you
for creatives to actually pick up and move forward.
do you believe that then, that sort of imagery is 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 it not, is that imagery not then a mirror of what's happening in the civilization at that point in time? You think that those sort of really, the chopping off the heads, etc., etc. You think that that's some sort of social message saying to people, look out, there are consequences to actions, and this is
It's
how we deal with them.
that's exactly how I see some of the ancient civilizations and the messages that they have. Which is very public. So, in my mind, if I had to bring about a picture in my mind, and I see someone that wants to be a criminal, like someone walking down the street. Now, let's take it into an ancient civilization. A guy riding on a horse or a camel, and he's about to rob someone. And then he comes across some of the iconography, whatever they've got over there, and it might just have been a reminder to say, don't do bad. This is what happens in our society. And it could have been something that prevents people from doing bad things. I believe that creatives need to use their voices. We have a lot of power, and we need to use that power to change what the future of the world will look like. We have a voice, and we need to use it. Instead of allowing our voices to be used for political aims of certain groups of people, or certain countries. I don't think people should be in a mindset or mind frame where they align to politics that's just for a country, but internationally. But They must have their minds structured in such a way that I must think about the rest of the world and not just one specific party. And in that way, in that sense, I say artists need to focus on bringing about the message of unity. We need that stuff right now, desperately. We don't want to see a World War III scenario, especially not with how advanced the whole world has become in terms of technology and stuff. I actually find it very saddening to see that when governments are putting a display of their armed forces or their weaponry and they've got fancy music playing in the background, I don't see that as something nice to look at. You bragging with weapons that hurt people doesn't make sense to me. I would rather see a leader say, "This is how I've uplifted my nation out of poverty," or "This is what we are doing to actually save the world," instead of bragging with the military.
But are they bragging, if you
It's
will?
about
Are they bragging to show?
You know,
But are they bragging?
yeah,
To
show
I don't think
a show of strength. I don't see strength.
No, but I don't know if they're bragging. I think it's kind of like they're saying, "Look, we have all this. Don't attack us." I think it still goes back to you talk about the ancients. It's still very tribal. It's very, look at what I have. Don't come here because I'll use this against you. So I think it's like, you know, the nuclear situation, right? It's mutual deterrent, and I think that's a mutual deterrent. It's like, look, we have all this stuff. If you come here, we're going to use it, and I think that's why you see the parades in Red Square. That's why you see the things in China and whatnot. Like the U.S. doesn't have a parade where we show anything. We just bomb people, I guess. You know, every country is a little different, but I think it goes back to the tribal. It's like, this is ours, don't take it. And I don't think that's changed. So hopefully through art and music, yes, it will. But, you know, they've been doing it this way for, just say, millions and millions of years, and somehow we don't seem to learn. So I don't know what to tell you on that one.
Yeah.
But
Are you not?
the
Are you not
exhibit will be
bothered
good.
Are you not bothered, Farouk, that your artwork could be
Yeah, but
politicalized going forward? But because I mean, there's also you know, a well documented. I mean, some of the early Soviet artwork, you know, is fabulous to look at. You know, and its style and the iconography. I mean, full of hidden messages. Are you not concerned that somebody might just you know, pick up on some of your art and take that off
Yeah.
to a darker place? How much control do you have over that? Because once somebody's purchased some of your art, they might say, "Oh, well, it's not. This is what we think it means."
I think okay, well, I think I would have control over that perceptions that people might form, because I make sure that my message is clear. And another thing that I wanted to what I wanted to mention is that yes, people want to display that we've got this power. Don't attack us. This is what we will use. Why do we have to follow that notion? Why do we have to continue with that for? I don't care if it's been existing for thousands of years. We're talking about the future. We're talking about the whole world as a people. Why do we need to be militarized? Why do countries need to have that? It's about taking steps towards peace, and peace is not achieved through that. It's if you say America doesn't really like do a parade of anything, but we'll find certain parades, certain institutions will release video footage and stuff like that and show people, yeah, we've got these things. I'm not afraid of a nuclear weapon. It doesn't scare me. What scares me is what people believe and what is in people's hearts. I want the darkness to come out and put light in there. And I think that's a stronger weapon to carry. For me, the strongest weapon on the face of this planet is having faith. You know, is having the ability to prevent people from actually catching on nonsense and being nasty towards each other. That is what I see as strength. That's true power. If you're facing someone in the street that wants to have a fight with you, if you can overpower that individual without a fight, that is true strength. And I think that type of message needs to get across to the rest of the world. We find that in the political sphere globally, it's a whole bunch of people that's got their minds stuck in past conflicts. And I'm saying, get your head out of that. They need that. I know that, yes, World War I, World War II artworks was used as a means to infiltrate the minds of society. There was a lot of propaganda going around. And for me, it's like, I'm going to counter everything that will be harmful towards society out there, and that covers the entire world. I don't want to see people being hurt anymore. I don't want to see any more conflicts, any part of the world. I don't want to see people being terrorists. I don't want to see people thinking that they're on the right side, but they actually being also terrorists towards other nations. I want those things to stop. And the way that I can see that happening is using the power that visual art, that performing arts, that all artists, whether they are musicians, actors, we all need to play our part and actually jump on the bandwagon. I'm not saying that people must jump into a specific frame of mind and say, like, cancel themselves out. I'm saying we need to stand up to people that just like to be in conflict. A lot of people love conflict, especially our media outlets. Most of the time when you're watching the news, there's always some bad news. And I'm like, no, we're tired of bad news. We want good news. We want to hear good stories. We want to see good things happening. And those things won't happen if we make it happen. And I'm saying, let us do that. Let's make it happen.
So you're going to be with the whole idea then is to be proactive with the art, if you will, and getting people to say, hey, let's think about this instead of let's just resort to violence right off the bat.
The main thing for me is just to get that spark in every individual where they feel internally, let me think about this. That's all I want. Then I've achieved everything. Then I would have achieved something amazing. If I can get that happening globally, where people start saying to themselves, instead of just wanting to speak, but just speaking to themselves and say, let me rethink where my mind is currently in the world right now at this point in time, and what is my view for the future? What do I want to see? What are my actual hopes and dreams for the future, for myself, for my children and offspring, in going forward, etc., etc. We need to get our minds in a positive state. We need to get away from being drawn towards conflict. There's a lot of people that are trying to persuade people's minds into thinking that if you do this, this is going to be perfect. A lot of people see bad actions as good as well. So I'm trying to get people away from thinking that bombing a country and then you clapping hands, that is not something good to clap hands for. People died. So you need to start being more human. You need to start feeling, because these type of things needs to stop. All over, everywhere, we need to bring this to an end. And it starts with every individual. You just need to tell yourself, I'm putting an end to it. I'm no longer supporting anything that promotes conflict. Period.
No, I agree 1,000%. So that, excuse me, the art exhibit that you're going to be doing in February, March, April, that's what this exhibit is. The one-man show is about basically, if you will, peace, global peace, and also exploring, it sounds like, the continent of Africa. Would that be a good way to look at it?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, I
There's
got one
saying
right
that the
today.
person must always start with everything that happens at home.
Right. And home is
For me,
home
it's
is a big
fix
place.
the conflict at home and then yeah.
I agree.
Start at home.
Yeah, start at home. That's very true. Is that what the name of your
Tame the fires at home.
exhibition is going to be? Is that the name of the
It's going to be
exposition?
in February.
February, okay.
What name?
Yeah, you got to tell us what the name, or is that still a bit secret, Squirrel?
It's a bit of a secret, Squirrel, but at the same time, you can say basically the exhibition it's more like you can say this is how it's done. This is what an exhibition is supposed to be. This is how you evoke emotion from society. Use it for the right purpose that art was supposed to, let it fulfill its purpose. If it's meant to be something that's beautiful, let people appreciate the beauty of it. If it's meant to send a specific message about unity, let it give it that power to send that message. Let it live for what it is.
Right.
Well, I'm so looking forward to yeah,
I'm
it's really
looking forward to the
exciting.
interview now in January, so we could
Yeah,
discuss the exhibition in February. So in January, you're going to be able to tell us the name and the dates and show us everything, right?
yeah, we're gonna have a little bit more info.
Yes, you.
No, so this is just a
Yeah,
teaser we're getting
you'll be
from you
linked
today.
up to all of the things.
So in
Okay.
January, just so you know, when you come back
Yes.
and tell us this,
It's
when you
just a
come back in
teaser.
January, we're going to do a live interview. So when you're talking about it, it's not going to be like this interview is going to come out
Yeah,
December
you will have a
6th. This will be live. The one we're going to do in January with you will be live.
Yeah.
So whatever day we do it, it's live. So if you want to do it from the exhibition, wherever you want, it'll be live. So everyone will see it live and then it'll record after. Like this one comes out December 6th. So they have a month or two to marinate, but the next one is live. So you'll be able to tell everybody live what you're doing and where you are and how to get there and how to support it and everything.
Yes.
So it's very exciting.
Yeah.
I look forward to
Yeah,
it.
yeah, we're
That will
seriously
be-
looking forward to that.
Very cool. And as
Okay.
David likes to say, down here will be the
Down there.
links to Farook's art. So you'll be able to purchase his art if you would like down there. And that's it. That's my friend. It was good to see you again. We have the delay.
Yeah, we've got
I feel like I'm
we've
with
got
I feel like I'm with my grandparents every time this happens. So,
no,
but who
well,
knows?
this needs to be par for the course for South Africa, doesn't it? But
Yes.
there you go. Yes, Farouk, thank you so much for being with us today. Stephen, also, thank you for being with us today.
Yes.
Yeah, and to everybody that's had an opportunity to watch this, we hope you've enjoyed what we're just trying to allude to. We don't know. Stephen and I do not know what Farouk has got up his sleeve.
No, but
He's
I
been
can't wait.
He's been indeed, but he's been teasing
Can't
us as
wait.
well for the last 2 or 3 weeks. So we're as intrigued to know as anybody else. So come back and join us again on our show, and all the other extra information you'll find on the website, or you can find it all on our social media links. But to everybody who's been listening and watching today, thank you so much for your time, and have a great day, great morning, or great afternoon. Bye bye.
Farouk, thank you. Cheers.